taped in front of a live studio audience here on LinkedIn Audio every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern.
And at 11 a.m. Pacific on the West Coast in sunny San Diego.
So for those listening now, most are not in the live audience, but rather they are listening on Spotify, podcasts. So they might have saw our live drop if you're listening on our YouTube station. If you are, please give us a like and subscribe. It does help us. We'll start going through it and telling all the great people that are doing it. And I think we have a lot of special guests lined up in future episodes. This one is almost like agenda-free Thursday, Mike, where we get to go through and talk about what is happening here in 2024 in the markets, in the field, and we might even have some guests. Who knows who comes in on our live audience, but if not, I think our audience that listens to us weekly can sit back and hear some raw and real thoughts of at least all the people we've been speaking to in the meantime.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's so crazy. Last year we were talking about what, higher rates and how bad the market is and housing and all the negative things that are going on. And we're reading in the news right now and what's not only going down in Housing Wire or National Mortgage News, but it's actually going on in the courts is what exactly is going on with loan officer poaching. Because I think I saw yesterday, Pat Sherlock posted out on LinkedIn that if you really have to rethink your business strategy, if you're a loan originator that's working for an independent mortgage banker, in other words, you're working for them, not a broker, but an actual originator at an IMB, if you're working for them and you're doing less than 2 loans a month, is it even worth keeping the value of that originator back on staff? And if you're thinking that right now, then you're thinking, well, I need to make as much money as I can, and maybe I should go get this person at this large independent mortgage banker. And I think that that's what they were thinking last year. And as a result, we have litigation, lawsuits, poaching, instead of talking about training, efficiency, and growth. And I think I'm not sure if being a lecherous environment that we're in right now is the most healthy way, but it looks like that's where we're headed to.
I think no one wins the way it's set up, but in this 80-20 rule, that seems to be the land of the 20, or we should say the 10%, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we heard it earlier, Summit Lending and Movement. We read Guild filing a petition in district court, according to Housing Wire, for $10 million from cross country. I think there was another one out there from Guaranteed Rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these all seem to be either top producing lenders or regional managers that have moved the region. And it makes you wonder, though, in this shift forward, we learned last week with Matt Sloanacre about ideal customer profiles.
Right.
So what you want to do is you want to set up your ideal customer profile, and Adopt the Brand is doing this with a couple different mortgage vendors in our space. So they'll come to us. They want meetings set up. We're adding to it and saying, look, we're not trying to step on the toes of your marketing directors, but we want to provide you account-based sales, which means it's not going to be cold email, in-mail, and cold call into a discovery demo, followed up by some drip campaigns into a let's meet at the conference and close. These lenders have been sold so much at the C level that to get them on these discovery calls is very difficult. You almost have to go bottom up if you're going to go that route.
Are you letting, but by doing that, are you letting the tail wag the dog versus the dog wagging the tail if you're going bottom up? I'm just asking because I'm just trying to figure this out right now. Everyone's trying to.
I'm saying that the type of people that are going to jump on a discovery call are a new wave lower on the org chart because the top org chart has played that game with new tech coming out and out and out and out. And maybe they've moved on to AI, which we'll get into that article later from Housing Wire, just because I like, let's do a little name dropping here and some quotes. But you go back, you create your ideal customer profile. From that ideal customer profile, we then go and we create a buying committee, because in mortgage, it can be different on who's actually in charge of what. They're just roles that have been around forever that they haven't changed it. From there, we run that list against HMDA data so that we can figure out who of your future clients matches your current clients. This industry has a bad habit of wanting logos that don't match their current logos, and we can help with that. And then we start to work this podcast circuit and start to really connect deeper into the mortgage industry in order to spread the awareness. The reason I say that is I think as a loan officer, you need to go back and say, what is my ideal customer profile in 2024? What is my ideal customer profile in 2025? How can I better partner with a real estate agent and subject matter experts in 2024, 2025? And then what type of lender and team can help me accomplish what my partners and what my subject matter experts want? I think in the past, it's been, how can I get more local business from my sphere of influence? I think you can do that anyways now with social media, and Adopt the Brand could give you some tips and advice. We're trying to build a community there, but I think you can do that. So it's what I'm getting at is I think loan officers need to be educated on a national level on what new is available and what opportunities will be available in the future, so they can align with companies that understand that. And I'm not saying there's an exact right answer, but do you get what I'm putting down there a little?
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack there. I think that okay.
Well, I mean, I was doing a shameless plug. So if we just skip to the point where I say, loan officers, what is your ideal customer profile? And then who are the subject matter experts, and which real estate agents also have the same one? And knowing that, which lenders can get behind that and make that look better?
I don't even know if realtors and real estate company owners or brokers or at the base level of getting buyers. I don't even know if the realtor knows their ideal customer profile. How, it's kind of like you sit here and go, well, I'm only going to deal with green eggs and I want green egg realtors, and then you go out and say, hey, they're all chameleons. They all want to be green egg realtors, but they don't even know how, because they don't even know who they are. I think that the loan originator, whether they're a broker or whether they work for a independent mortgage banker, they can get as granular as they can, and even focused. And I think though you can still be successful doing that. By the way, I've seen it happen here in San Diego. But if the independent mortgage banker or the broker, that if they don't know who their ideal customer is, in other words, that the broker or IMB doesn't know who their ideal loan originator is, and the realtor doesn't know who their ideal originator is, you're basically you're a tennis ball in the ocean of real estate right now, trying to figure out which boat do you want to get onto. And I think that we have to, if you're going to be the originator trying to figure out where to go, once you figure out who your customer is, now you can start interviewing not only the company you want to work with or the broker you want to work with, because you can actually figure out which of the teams are going to be the most efficient, the ones that have the, if you're going to be a VA, like Matt was talking about last week, if you're going to be a VA specialist, then you can find out, hey, is my processing team going to be really good at working VAs? Do they have connections? I mean, everybody knows that at the end of the day, it's about the connections that you have in the industry. So, and the same thing goes with the real estate agents that you're going to be working with, right? If you're going to do VA, are you a retired veteran, or are you just, or are you like a legacy of a veteran? So you just happen to know because you've moved around so many times, and that was your experience of working with military. So, and that's just using the VA specialist as the example. So, are you going to be the chicken, or are you going to be the egg? Meaning, are you going to be the one controlling who is your perfect customer, and as a result, you dictate where you're going to go to as a result of the business? Or is the company going to help you, or is the realtor going to be the one dictating? And I think that's one of the questions that you have to be asking yourself as a mortgage originator. Are you the one actually dictating the business, or is your company and your referral sources dictating your business? And once you've made that decision on which person are you going to be, the one controlling the business or the one being controlled, because you can be successful both ways, I think. But once you're in that mold, then you can hire a coach, or you can hire a company to put you into that space.
We are on the cusp of a revolution where reinvention is needed. A lot of the people have lost their way because they've hung on to legacy systems, whether that's software, middle management, role-based versus task-based. There is going to be a new And we went through the technology, maybe not revolution from a technologist standpoint, but from a buying and trying standpoint, we've gone through it. And I think it'll be another year or two before another version of that. So here's what you have. You've only used 15% of all the capabilities of all of it. You've proven that in silos, you don't really want to pay for all of it. 11 different services at $50 a month for all your loan officers. So what do you do now? Well, what do we do? And I think it's just coming back to the game plan of saying, okay, here's the community. Here's the community we have. I know, because I've been watching for the last 18 months, that we have about 7 new listings that come on the market every month.
In your area?
Yeah, I'm just saying my area. Maybe 7, maybe 4, maybe 11. But that's certainly what it feels like if you took out anything over 1.5 million.
Sure.
So that ICP is my ideal customer profile is ignore the noise, ignore the things over 1.5 million. Break that down and really maybe have a real estate agent work with you. I think even getting a look at the demographics and proving to yourself that the total addressable market in these 2 zip codes at this age is enough for me to be wealthy, to get up, because money motivates salespeople. Let me get up there and let me believe myself that this demographic can push me to new heights, so that I don't try to be making that way by servicing everybody. I think we just worked so much with data and using data in our database that was going to be the golden answer to get to the next level, that we've lost focus, that it's really about honing in on your sales ability and leveraging YouTube, Reels, Instagram, TikTok, and working on that content where it's engaging, but it's also informative and it teaches people inside that ideal customer profile. And if you've saved up enough acorns for the winter here, I think you come out on the other side an absolute winner. Like, I would love to work with anybody on the long-term motivation and vision of it, but I think you become an absolute powerhouse, because that way of reaching all those people is out there, Michael. And we say it daily, but I'm just trying to get more. I loved you said my favorite word 4 times in a short, granular. Like, people like to get granular, and I think we do a good job of getting granular on the show. So here in 2024, I said first theme would be, what have we learned the first 2 weeks? I have not spoken to not too many loan officers. I've spoken to a lot of leaders actually here in the first 2 weeks. Say at least 15 CEOs of top 200 HMDA, because that's in the ICP of adopt the brand clients. Are you hearing anything in your text chains on like what the sentiment is, out there? Because I would like to think that 2 weeks in, it's not as optimistic as we were right before the break with all that news.
I will say, because in our text chain, we've got Hawaii, we got both Carolinas, Texas, California, and New Jersey. And, we're spanning this text chain of professionals, and originations are high because, to be honest with you, there were a lot of good, really intelligent originators that zeroed out in November and December. And then they didn't purposely sandbag their originations, but it sure seems that way because the ones that did zero in November and December, and by the way, these are single originators. I'm not going across an entire demographic of companies because they're all at different companies. And they all work for a IMB. So none of them are brokers. So just as an FYI, they are all producing between 2 to 4 deals in the month coming up. They're going to fund between January to February. Some of them may roll over because contracts or rate locks or whatever. But it looks like that originations are definitely picking up. And the ones that zeroed out last winter. So if you're an originator listening and you zeroed out and you're used to doing 4 deals, or you only did 1 or 2 and you're used to doing 4 to 6 deals, you shouldn't really feel bad. I mean, I think if you look company wide, a lot of people are in the same boat. It's unfortunate, but it's looking like the spring is going to be looking pretty good. And listings are increasing and people who are selling are on the right boat. It's looking like that so far, at least this spring, that there are going to be more originations, not only in the refinances, but also in listings and sales for realtors, which means more buyers for for loan officers. And considering how many originators left the business in this past year, it looks like it's going to be a potentially really much more profitable year in the spring and coming and entering into the summer. Well, let's see how what the economy does, but I think we're looking pretty, at least across my text chain of originators nationwide. It looks like it's pretty positive.
Yeah, what is it? 100,000 less originators now. So when any of these dams break, it is going to feel much larger than it is, right?
Yep.
I saw 16. So a lot of the clients I work with are business process outsource, and I think there should be a calling, like loan officers. If you're listening to this podcast, there's a couple reasons to listen. Being raw variety show, I'd like you to understand, especially like if you're a broker, just on a national level, what's happening and why you should be asking for it as a salesperson more than ever. But outsourcing, global delivery, more cars have been made in America this past year than ever before. That doesn't mean that 80% of the components come from overseas. They come here and they just put together on the assembly line, right? And I think that's what's called new global delivery model with business process outsource. Yes, it's overseas. Yes, it's in India. Yes, it's in Venezuela, or what would another one be? Not like Puerto Rico or Portugal. Yeah, you can get parts of the loan, but the underwriting process is done in-house. But just to see that, I saw 16% of IMBs plan to substantially grow their team this year. How did they not see Moneyball? And you as a loan officer, like they do this because they think you want that as a culture, because you don't want to be selling with, quote, offshore overseas. You want made in America here, people that you can talk to. I'm just telling you, that's not how 90% of companies in the country do make anything these days. So they're doing it to cater to your belief systems that that's what your customers want. Your customers are so digital. It's hyper, sensitive maybe when you meet somebody at the Dunks, at the Dunkies, at the Dunkin' Donuts. But at the end of the day, they just want great rates, fast service, 5-star reviews on your Google. Make sure you're just like a restaurant. And I think what I'm getting at, Mike, and I don't know the exact stats, but I'm pretty sure they were something like volume dropped 70%, lenders cut 30%.
Are you saying cutting staff or cutting?
Yeah, cutting staff. I mean, that was the overall. That's why they lost every quarter. Was if volume dropped 70%, they needed to cut staff a lot closer to that 70% than the 30 they were at, right? You're actually closer to 0 than you are to the 70 at 30. So to think there still needs to be a correction, yet at the one word of good news, you want to go back to 16%. My point is outsource variable costs. Let your loan officers know, and you as loan officers know, there's going to be no good culture of dominating the next 4 months of great rates and then needing to cut people that you grew a relationship with that were in the trenches with you. You can't go to the expand contract model again, or everybody's going to get burnt out watching people get hired and fired. That's what these variable models are for. They're just not put into place because I think leadership, when I'm talking to them, is afraid that the loan officers don't want to, be splitting up which deal goes onshore or offshore, which is the wrong way to do it anyway. Not the people we represent don't do it that way, but that's the idea.
Who makes the? I mean, you've talked to a lot of executives, Mike. Who makes the decision on hiring and firing when it comes to operations staff? I mean, I'm only mainly on the sales end here, so I'm curious, and I don't. So curious on ops, who makes the final decision? Is it actually going to be the leader of processing, or is it the president, the CEO? I'm not really. I'm asking you as a question, so I just don't know, because it seems to me like if you know that your originator is good for 2 to 4 loans on an average, and your processor is good for processing on processing times and so on and so forth, then if those numbers are somewhat fixed in expectation, then why can't executives get their act together?
They're made by a COO typically that is pitching it, never by themselves. I find it's a committee, it's a board, it's partners that are part of it, but it's ultimately on the COO usually to propose the solution, and that solution will include: are we going to try OCR? Are we going to try automation? Are we going to try bots like Silverworks Solution? Not many people know about them. They are with and will be supporting this podcast, they are with Adopt the Brand, but that's really what people are hoping for, is that bot solution. But I think it's got to be hybrid. So these bots now are people. Like you can get a loan officer bot, not a loan officer bot, but you can get a processor bot, a closing disclosure desk bot, like roles, like really role-based bots. And it's fascinating. They do the work in Encompass and they run through the rules. You're still going to need some humans though, right? And so it's it's the COO comes up with the perfect mix. The problem is, I guess not a problem, but you're so afraid to get the decision wrong because you have to sign these contracts. You got to ride it out for a year or two. And that's why I think account-based sales in this industry, from what I'm hearing, and what we offer, again, to leaders, is like, what is the other person doing? Because that really should be the next 2 years. Like, what's working? How did it work? Did it work well? Okay, that's the one I want to go with, because no one's bought anything for the last year and a half. So they've actually
What are the executives doing, Mike? I mean, okay, we have the Mortgage Collaborative, which is a whole bunch of leaders getting together and either commiserating or talking. We have the MBA, and last year at Nashville, a lot of people were either they were. It doesn't seem like they were being sold or commiserating. I'm not even going to call it networking. They were commiserating with each other, and instead of some advanced and forward planning, which is what we're doing here, right? We think about what do we want to happen, and then go do the actions for it. That's what we're doing here. So what do they not want to spend money on trying to make things happen, or they've been burned so many times in the past, and it's once bitten, twice shy, right? Everybody's been there before, right? I don't want to, whether it's in dating or whether it's in some kind of relationship. I'm not talking about a romantic. I'm talking about business. But is it a once bitten, twice shy? And then we got to egg the leaders out of their fear hole here.
Yeah, they've been bitten. I mean, it's when they're meeting the people like myself that are calling them and messaging them. Okay, I'll take the meeting. It's like a first date, right? Like you're seeing somebody. Or they always make that joke about like office crushes, right? It's because they always have their makeup on. You always see them dressed up. You always see them PG rated. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that's these leaders are also leading a company, so they don't have time to do much more than an hour demo. Like I've been watching a lot of these point of sale demos lately, and I know what's better about them, but I'm watching other people observe them.
Okay.
And the companies that have put tens, hundreds of millions of dollars into it, I know why they think it's amazing, and I can understand it as somebody that had a very successful business in that area, a lot of clients. But I know now, like all 18 by the end of the hour are pretty much the same thing to the prospect, outside of a couple items. Like, is it what they're looking for or what they're not looking for? And I think that's just, now if you put it into a real environment and you ran loans through it, you would start to see the big difference in all of these and which ones matched what you were looking for, which ones did not.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're seeing sample data, with the makeup on, best performance, only on one night while everything's still fresh, your best stories never heard, you know what I mean? Then it's just very difficult. And that's just one subject, point of sale. Now we need to find outsourcing. It's a tall task for somebody to get it right. So I just sit there and I watch many of them get it. Just something I wouldn't. I think 2024 is going to be, can I get on the phone and say, X mortgage, the other mortgage company I saw in Lenders One, or the Mortgage Collaborative. Hey, I saw you're using this. My person, sit down with your person for a while. And do you mind if your person just, it honestly should be venting. It's like, when I pick a hotel or I pick a restaurant, I look at the bad reviews. And guess what? I still choose them a lot. I just need to see what the worst case scenario is. Like, is it safe?
Are you serious?
What's that?
I mean, this is more of a truth of the matter, right? In real estate, it's like we get to pick the best of the worst. Is that what you're saying? I mean, is that why we choose? Is that why we choose referrals and friends and family to do business, because we're choosing the best of the worst?
I wasn't saying no. I wasn't. Let's go
I'm
to
not.
let's
I'm
go
not
to the
inferring.
review part. Let's go to the review part.
All right.
I think there's solutions out there for loan officers that only post above a 4-star. That was great when you needed to sell lenders back in the day. Like that would sell. That would make you money I was there. I was in those trenches as a software owner. That's
Uh-huh.
what the owners wanted. Control. In a Wild West, they didn't know the world of this as it evolved. But now, as a loan officer, I would just say like, that's not how people buy. That's not how I buy. I read the bad reviews of a restaurant. Like I know which one I kind of want to go to, but I'll still go as long as the bad reviews aren't as long as they're in line with like what I was expecting. Like hotels. Like if I'm reading reviews, I'm trying to find out, is it safe? And I'm not going to find those from the 5-star reviews. I'm finding them from the 3 and 2, and they're going to say, room was this, room was that, and I choose it. Like, look, obviously to go to the JW Marriott, I don't know. I'm not really doing that. So I guess if you were going to go, look for a jumbo mortgage at Wells Fargo because you already have all your money at Wells Fargo to buy, this mansion that you want to buy, great. But when I'm trying to save some money, because I book late at the servicing conference in Orlando and the Hyatt, is up to like 580, and there's a bazillion other resorts around there because of Walt Disney World, right?
Right.
But I want to be on that Orlando, so I'm trying to find through the reviews, make sure I'm not staying at a disaster, but I'm doing like a price comparison, kind of figuring it out there. Same thing with the restaurant. I'm just trying to read the reviews that are not good. If they say the waiter was bad, look, the waiter can have a bad day. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to not go. If they say, at 6:00, it was so loud from trivia night, I can't stand trivia night if I'm not playing trivia. I'm not going to find that in a 5-star review. Trivia was great. Asked all the difficult questions about Taylor Swift. Like,
So
that's not coming up in 5-star, So I think there's no reviews except shout out to my friend in the industry, Stephen Cooley, Mortgage Advisors Group. They're the only ones building this, but and I do know some big lenders that have gone to it, but the lenders still have to leave the reviews. So it's I guess
if
that's
you're
why to answer your question, that's why that whole thing is like broken. There's no
right,
place to get reviews. There's only the 5-star reviews. What is 5-star reviews in our industry? You get to present with who was one of my favorite people to actually listen to and absorb, and we should be going to his site more for this show. So we will make that a 2024.
all right.
But Julian Hubrom from the Basis Point. But if you want to present with him in the last, up on stage, it's conference. You have to pay to play, right? So I mean, there's no secret to that. I'm not like revealing anything, but if you want to be part of Lenders One, you have to pay. If you want to be part of the Mortgage Lab, you have to pay as a vendor. If you want to be on ICE and Compass, you have to pay. There's no marketplace for where the lenders are actually writing reviews. And if they are, it might be in ICE, but again, they're not picking the best. They're picking the best of ICE approved in the lane that ICE approves. So there's no free marketplace. And except, Adopt the Brand, I think, is the closest because we really do give it raw. I mean, listen to us. A lot of people hide behind different pieces, but I get my information from how it worked with other lenders. And if they're the ones that I respect, meaning I've seen them over the last 10 years of conferences, then I know it works. Like it works in a real data, real world. Otherwise, you're buying on somebody's best profile, best performance, best lens, best filter. That's the word I was looking for. If this was Instagram, you're always seeing them on their best filter.
Yes, but it makes me think of right now is the consumer looking at the jockey or the horse, right? if the horse is meaning either the broker or the independent mortgage banker, then uh, are they advertising themselves to the best of their ability, and do they have the willingness to hand the reins, no pun intended, over to the jockey to see if they can be the best jockey that they can be? In other words, are we the famous horse, or are you going to be in other words, are you going to be Seabiscuit or Willie Shoemaker? And so I think that once the originators figured out who they want to be or who do they want to be with, then it's easier to, now you can actually make a decision on actually how you want to direct your business practice or your business practices. Every uh, every company wants to be the best that they can be, to be the most profitable, to be the one that can grow the most. And I don't think a lot of them just have made the conscious decision yet. If they're a smaller independent mortgage banker, hey, I want to be purchased like Caliber did, right? I want to be purchased by Rhythm, or I want to be purchased by Loan Depot, or I want to be purchased by Guild because they're publicly traded companies. And if you're an originator, okay, well, I'm working for a certain team right now, but I eventually want to be my own broker, or I want to be my own, or I want to go work for an independent mortgage banker because they've hired a certain consultant, or and they might have they say they hire and they say, I like the way Adopt a Brand does their business, and these are the vendors they've chosen, so that this type of originator, this is the originator. Let's say we focused on VA, we haven't, but let's say we have. Then we can say, okay, well, these are the vendors that we work with. For example, we'll talk to Matt Schoenecker, and this is what he has already stated to us in backdoor private conversations. So this is how we can make the VA originator better. Or we've talked to Sue, and for those who wanted to work with the first time home buyer, because Sue knows the score, then we've said, okay, we've worked with Sue, and these are the credit challenged ones, and these are the ones that we need to work with. Or we can say we've worked with whatever, right? I just want to name drop them because they were on our show last week. But for other clients of Adopt a Brand, and for other originators that don't yet know who they want to work with, or even the independent mortgage banker that doesn't know, that thinks they know everything, and I know none of them know none of them think that they know everything, but they don't know what they don't know, meaning that they're getting pitched so much in this uh, whatever of all these vendors, they don't know how to get granular, and that's something we've been able to at least figure out, because we talked to a lot. Because yeah, truth be told, Michael, when we go to all the shows, I went to 4 shows last year. I don't know how many you went to, and I talked to so many different vendors. And I would ask them, hey, I wouldn't ask them how's business. I would say, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing to get? I'm going to use your favorite word here a few more times, Michael. Granular in your business strategy to get better, to do better, not only for your trade and for your own commissions and sales, but for the greater good for everybody here. And I think that there isn't enough concentration on getting granular. It's more on survival. And when you're starving for business, you reach for everything. When you're hungry for business, you start to get choosy. Just like you were just talking about, which is the restaurant or the hotel, right? You're not starved. When you're starving for a hotel, you're willing to pay for whatever it takes, $500, $1,000, if you have the money, that is, or credit card to use for that. When you're starving for it, you're going to reach for everything. But when you're hungry for it, you have the willingness to make some educated decisions for yourself. And I think we were starving so much for business last year. And as far as everybody was concerned, whether you're in residential, commercial, whether you're a leader or an originator, or in sales or vendor or whatever, I think people were starving and they were reaching for everything. So now is the time to get granular and figuring out what is it that we really need to focus on. If you're an originator and you were focusing on first time buyers and it just wasn't working for you because there wasn't enough inventory, what do you need to do to get granular? So, and the same thing goes for the leaders of the mortgage industry.
Yeah, mean, I really love this show here. It's giving, I don't know, consumers and realtors, I guess, out of this could understand what the lending landscape looks like of what you're dealing
There's
with.
no
And
way.
transparency is what everybody wants, right? Like, wouldn't
Yes.
you want to know where they get the steaks from, how they cook them? So I think, but I'm really enjoying this show. Hey, on the other side of this, I do want to give some insights from Housing Wire and from Ingenious on production of loan officers and real estate agents last year to kind of go with what we've been saying, what you've been saying, Michael.
Okay.
But I did want to point out, maybe you can help me here. If you're listening right now on YouTube or on Spotify, or you are live in our audience here, and we got Donica and Christine, who's a loyal listener. Thank you. If you go to bio.link /Mike and Michael, all one hyperlink, bio.link /Mike and Michael, just click on the first link and then click on subscribe. That's what we need you to do.
Please do.
That's what we would like. And if you're listening on a podcast right now, just subscribe. Now, if you write a comment and you subscribe, then we reach out to us and we will make sure that anybody of your choice can be a guest on one of our breakout shows, because we're going to have some big guests coming up. We're going to have two big leaders in the IMB space, Greg Shear and Kevin Peranio. Agreed to join us. Peranio agreed to join us on the show. We are going to have Rob Piclo said he would jump on. Brian Vo is going to come on here. Jake Sharp will be on, and he is coming off of IMN conference, that he's speaking at. So he's going to give us some impact of the capital markets, if you guys are really into that. And we're going to be doing some spin-off shows so that you'll be able to see on there. So if you want to be on, if you're listening to this and you want to be on, you don't hear this very often. I don't when I listen to all these podcasts.
Yeah, seriously.
You should go to, I know, right? Go to bio.link /Mike and Michael, and there'll be a way there you can contact us or suggest people. The spinoffs are going to be More Talk Marketing, More Talk Operations, More Talk Compliance, More Talk Technology. We're going to have vendors in the industry that adopt the brand now, our clients. We're going to give them a chance to co-host with us. And so then we're going to need people in that space. So if you know somebody that is interesting, somebody that you follow on LinkedIn, give us 5. And for everyone you give, we'll give you something back. The ability to be on the show, maybe some swag when we get it, or that swag.
Or maybe Michael, what they should do is if they're an originator, a real estate professional, or consumer that wants to get heard, maybe they should record a video on their phone and email it over to us, and we should give them a 30-second spot or a 15-second spot, because I think that in order for them to do better for themselves and for everybody, whether you're a consumer, originator, or realtor, or even another professional, getting spoken with and for is different than getting spoken to. And I think that if you, for all our listeners that are coming, there are the loyal people who are coming in and they want to listen and see what's going on, I think it's important that we figure out, who are you being spoken to, or are you being spoken for? And I think what we're doing is we're speaking for you. So come on up and send us a message, send a video in, and we'd be happy to do that. And then if you want to post on your social media page, we'd be happy to do it. Just tag us for More Talk. Right? Tag us, like us, share us.
I couldn't have said that any better.
I got to do that actually too, Mike. I mean, no, I don't know if I've done a good enough job of tagging, liking, and sharing yet.
Let's jump right back into it. So Ingenious Insights reports in October of 2023, because I actually heard a couple nothing burgers in November, December. So you got to think the numbers are worse than this. 131,000 loan officers closed 6 deals in the previous 12 months. So about a half a deal a month.
Oof. What now? Do you know the average loan size?
I don't.
Because if it's like,
welcome to come on if you want to break any of this down. So 12 closed, 100,000 closed one a month in 12 months.
Wow. That's probably like 3. I mean, if you're doing a half loan, if your average loan size in California is, let's say, 700,000, you're only making like $3,000 a month.
And then 42,000 did at least 2.5 loans a month. That's what I got for you. So 42,000 out of, say, 132,000. There's about 42,000 loan officers that make enough money to keep it being a living.
Oof. Should that scare us?
No, I think that's a healthy. Look, technology got involved here, right? So maybe it's a healthy reset. You know what's coincidental?
What's that?
I'll tell you in 10 minutes. Do you think there's more or less zip codes than that number? 41,925 loan officers closed at least 2.5 either refinances or purchases a month for 12 months, which is about how much a month, let's say, in how much you make a year at that number.
Honestly, in a year, if you're, it doesn't matter what state you're in. I think on the high side,
I'd say the
you
average is about 270, I think, alone.
oof.
230, 270. So let's just say 300. Let's make
No,
it.
I think you're doing no because if you're, there's no way you're doing that in Midwest. There's more transactional business. I think if you're doing that, and there's less, there's just less. I think if you're in California, Boston, Seattle, or Manhattan or larger market, your average loan size is maybe 600,000, and if you're in a smaller market, you're at 250. Meaning that if you're a smaller market, you're doing 2 loans a month. If you're doing a larger market, you're probably doing a half loan or 1 loan a month. Right. I think the average income is between $28,000 to $36,000 for an originator last year. I'm not saying that. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, the I wouldn't be surprised if half the originators that were doing that were Ubering, door dashing.
So they have 2 people now that DoorDash during lunch, and one closed nothing in November, and 2 of them, kind of scary, had brokers with really low, just low comp plans take lock deals from them. And so that's going to be a threat, in 2024. People that are just riding those, those wholesalers are starting to make tech not for themselves, but for the brokers. Watch out. You do research on how you think your operations that you're selling should be. There's so many more options out there as a loan officer. You get to decide. You can ask your subject matter experts and your realtor partners what they think the operation should look like, what that should be for the ideal customer profiles, not the whole zip code, which we're going to get the answer for you guys on which one's more. Too many people go to the rates in the middle management of IMBs and margin versus broker and why that's better. I mean, that's all you ever hear. And honestly, if you're hearing it and these large loan officer groups are growing, there is a chance there could be some MLM type aspect to it, like EXP Realty did in the beginning. I think that was the company that did it. I don't want to, look, if you think MLM's bad, I don't mean to speak, let's not call it that then. But some aspect where you get bips on what you recruit. And then you get incentivized to keep bringing somebody else in. And maybe that's why the units are low. Top dogs pulling the tech budget so everybody else can join in. Let's do realtors real quick before we do
All right.
zip code.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay. So where are we here? I'm trying to find it, and it says that 70% of agents sold 5 or fewer homes in 2023. So 30% of them did more than a half a deal a month. And 49% sold only 1 or 0 homes. And 1 to 2 real estate agents doing most of the deals in the zip code. Not most. I don't even say that. Not most. Doing enough to be considered the best.
Okay. Okay.
So everybody in the world is going for those people to ask for something out of them with honestly nothing really to offer them. I mean, maybe, but they're all going to offer pretty much the same thing. I just think it's such an opportunity as a loan officer to do your ICP. Ask us for help here at Adopt the Brand. What are we doing? What do we see happening here with not making a YouTube station, but making a YouTube station where the thumbnails reflect some sort of juice and energy that people are used to? Getting reels because that's what people watch. Getting TikTok because that's what people watch in short films. And rather than explaining CNBC and the financial piece of it, because you think every Dick, Jane, and Harry wants to work with somebody that knows the 10-year up and down because you think that means they're going to give them the best rate because they know exactly when to lock and when not to lock. And I think we've all learned it's impossible to predict the market, or you should be a stockbroker. So where can you really be the best? It is informing your zip code of what they need to know about why you are captivating, relevant. And I think most importantly, if you've watched these last two shows here in 2024, you have the ability to get the best subject matter experts. And again, we can help you with this. I'm not even saying it'd be a charge. We might do it for fun. But the best subject matter experts don't just come locally. It's maybe getting Sue on there. Maybe even she says she'll wait 8 months, but she can't do it for 8 months, but she can do it. Maybe it's in her best interest to get a rock star loan officer to have some content with her in it. But your zip code gets credit score advice from the best of the best. My point is, get subject matter experts that are important to your ideal customer profile, which would probably be whatever is kind of the typical demographic in that zip code. Get subject matter experts that engage but don't use social media well enough to have a platform to really get the oomph. Do it for them. Show them the results. Show them the editing quality. Find yourself somebody like we have that is just, gets so good that other people want to get in on it. And then just wait. Because I think the poaching of today of loan officers for volume, tomorrow's how many followers do you have? How many engagements? How many people come on your podcast? Could you come over here and replicate it for our company? How could you do that? I see that people are commenting. Could you come over here and do it? I see NFM doing it. If there's 41,700 zip codes, there should be a lot more people doing it. And I think, how are we learning? Not through the lipstick way, Michael Zhao. My point is, we're learning it through every week. We kind of think something's cooler, something's more, hey, that looks pretty normal. Wow, other companies should do this. So that's what I think the purpose of this show is optimism doesn't necessarily mean you're stuck with just a closing. What if you got a closing and 100 more active viewers on your local subject matter expert, weekly show? It serves a great chapter in the book of More Talk 2024. And I'm not saying we're writing a book. I'm saying it took what we learned last show, it applied it to where the market's going, and we're going to have some great guests next week. And time will be to be determined because I land here at 2:04. So maybe we'll do a Wednesday show next week, Michael, live from the IMB, and see if I can pull some people in as guests.
Yes, do that. You're going to be in New Orleans. I'm still in sunny San Diego, which is where I live. And I'm not going to be at the IMB this year. I was there last year because I was in Coronado. But I'm going to see if I can make it down to servicing out in Florida.
Excellent. We'll be there. I was supposed to be there, but I'm to be determined.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yes.
We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. And if you're listening on Spotify, Podcastle, or YouTube, these come out every week. Please listen. Please share them. And if you share them on LinkedIn, tag it. We notice, and I would think we notice it more than anybody because we're very active, and we're very proud of anybody that is listening and is enjoying this. Have a great Thursday, January 11th. Looking forward to hearing from you next week.
Absolutely. See ya.